What's going on, everybody? David here, back with another video. So today I want to show you it's more of a reaction video, but this is Larry Kudlow. He had an interview today on CNN. So I want to go over some of the key points when it comes to the stimulus package. But the first thing that I asked of you guys to do is please hit that like button. If you hit that like button, it will help promote this video out. Right now, I'm having some issues with getting my videos promoted. I've had a few people come out and say they're not getting notifications and things like that. So if you could please hit that like button, it really helps out. I noticed the more likes my video gets, the more views that the video gets generally. So please do that. And if you're new here, please consider subscribing to the channel. So let's go ahead and get started and listen to this interview here.
Yeah, Republicans want to end the $600 per week in additional unemployment. They want to replace it with 70% of previous wages. That loss of income for millions of Americans could lead to evictions. It could lead to people not being able to pay for food or medicine or electricity. Are you concerned that changing this the way that this unemployment compensation is given, that stopping this funding will actually end up causing further damage to the economy, with people not able to pay their bills, with people being evicted?
Jake, it won't stop. It won't stop the assistance. It's going to cap the assistance at a level that is consistent with people going back to work. That's what we've said from day one. First of all, state unemployment benefits stay in place. Second of all, we will try to cap the benefits at about 70% of wages. You know, a University of Chicago study showed virtually 70%, 68% of people actually have higher benefits than wages. We have had a flood of inquiries and phone calls and complaints that small stores and businesses and restaurants can't hire people back. They went too far. Maybe last March.
Okay, so I want to stop here and just talk a little bit about, so they're talking about this 70%. That's their target. The reason that they had the $600 in place is it was easier to do it that way. Now they're going to have to try to figure out with the 70%. Okay, they're going to have to go back to the taxes. So that means the IRS is going to have to get involved. They're going to have to calculate. So this is each individual. They're going to have to calculate how much money they made last year. What is 70%? They're going to have to do all that, or they're going to push that onto all the states. Unemployment offices to do that. So this is going to take a while. This is not one of those things where you can just say, like they did in the past, where they just said, okay, it's $600, there you go, or $400, there you go. Now they're going to be doing a percentage, and that's going to cause some problems. You also have to think about people, and he mentioned the restaurant industry. A lot of people who work in the restaurant industry are making minimum wage. And so if you look at just their minimum wage and you don't look at their tips, then yes, they're getting more on unemployment than they were in their regular job, but they receive tips. So a lot of them are still making more money in their regular job because they get their minimum wage plus they get tips. So you have a lot of industries like that, or industries where they have a base salary that's very, very low, and then they make a commission. They're making most of their money on their commission. So there's still an incentive to go back to work because they know that there'll be tips there and they'll be able to make more money than they're making in unemployment. So that's just one of those things too that you have to think about when they're saying this. All these people are making so much money on unemployment, and they're not going to want to go back to work. Well, a lot of these people make tips, and that's the reason why they want to go back to work. And a lot of them are service industry jobs. So just something else to think about. Let's go ahead and continue.
March, it was necessary for that, but really the consequences of people not returning to work, Secretary Mnuchin said it right, we want to pay folks to go back to work. And incidentally, we are going to have, on top of the cap of wages, 70%, which is quite generous by any standard, on top of that, we will have a reemployment bonus and a retention tax credit bonus for going back to work. So that's going to...
Okay, so you see that Larry Kudlow is still sticking to these back to work bonus. And so they're trying to come up with something, which we haven't heard anything yet as far as exactly how much that will be, but they're really working on something to incentivize people to go back to work. Now you hear no mention of any type of hazard pay or essential worker pay. So the people that have been working this whole time are not going to get any type of a bonus, according to Larry Kudlow. Okay, that's not on the table for their proposal. Now, understand, this is just a proposal. So they're going to have to present this to all the senators, so the Democrats as well, and the Democrats are going to have to come up with what they want. So you still might see essential worker bonus, but right now the focus is on getting people back to work, and that means that they're really focusing on getting the bonus for people that go back to work, but the people who are still working, have been working this whole time, according to Larry Kudlow, they're not going to be getting anything extra.
More than offset any of this. I mean, the trick here is going back to work. We don't want people out. We want them in wherever possible. The businesses are calling them back. That's why I'm optimistic on the economy. So far, I could be wrong, Jake, Lord knows, but so far, this, the iteration here, the dynamic here is very positive.
People want to go back to work. The problem is that it's, in many cases, you talk about restaurants, it's not safe for them to go back to work because the administration and states have not been able to get the virus under control. I mean, that's the reason, that's the problem why restaurants can't hire workers. It's not because waiters and servers and maitre d's and bartenders don't want to go back to work. It's because either they're not allowed to open their bars or have significant seating in their restaurants, or it's not safe to go there. That's the whole problem. That's going to be the problem with schools in the fall. It's the problem with people reluctant to get on airplanes. I mean, it's because you were not able to get the virus under control that the economy continues to struggle.
I will say again, the economy is improving by leaps and bounds. I will also say there are more states that are reopening and doing very well.
Okay, so, and I'm just stopping right here. It's kind of in the middle of what he was saying, but Jake Tapper brings up a really, really good point. So if you want to get people to go back to work, you need to create that environment where they feel safe to go back to work. You need to create the environment where the virus is not on the rise, because then businesses will open up and businesses will be able to open up, because there are a lot of states that are shutting down businesses and not allowing restaurants and bars to be open. And if they are open, they're only open to 25%. And so if someone goes back to work, they're not going to be making the same money as they were making before, because it's only open to 25%. Not to mention that restaurant or that bar can't hire all their employees back. So in order to get back to where you were or get close to where you were before the virus hit, you have to take care of the virus. And so that's what Jake Tapper's saying here. And it's a good point. I mean, we're talking about giving people bonuses to go back to work, but what if there's no job to go back to? Now you're in a situation where you have money that's set aside for people to go back to work to give them a bonus, but these jobs are not calling them back to go to work because of the virus. And so you have to address the virus. And it looks like the administration right now is not addressing the virus. They just want to get people to go back to work when a lot of people don't have jobs to go back to, at least not right now. Once the virus subsides, then maybe we'll be in a situation where people can get back into those jobs that they were working in before. And realistically, and Jay Powell said this, there's some jobs that are just not going to be there. So they're not going to even have a job to go back to. They're going to change their whole dynamic when it comes to how people work. It's going to change. A lot of people will be working from home. We're going to have machines doing a lot more work than they did before. You go into a supermarket and you're going to see these automatic tellers where you just go up and you put your information in, as opposed to going to an actual teller. I mean, we'll see banks will change too. Banks are going to probably have a lot more ATMs now, because a lot of the stuff you can do at an ATM, you don't need to go inside of a bank. And so you might start seeing these little pop-up ATM stations and not as many banks. And so that means they don't have to hire as many employees, and a lot of people are doing their stuff just through the ATM. So there's so much that's going to change. And Larry Kudlow wants to get people to go back to work, but he's not addressing the issue. The issue why people are not working right now is because of the virus. It's not because there's just all these people that are just receiving so much money that they don't want to go back to work. No, they're not able to go back to work, or they don't want to be put in a situation where it's unsafe to go back to work. So let's go ahead and continue.
There are some key states, yes, California and Texas and Florida right now, that are having hotspot difficulties, but it's nothing like it was last winter.
Yeah, and he says California, Texas, and Florida, 3 of the largest states in the U.S. are having issues. So that's going to affect a lot of people. You have 40 million people in California alone. That's going to affect a lot of people. So just by saying that, it's just 3 states right now that are really having difficulties. These are 3 large states that are having difficulties. All right, let's continue.
I don't agree with your premise that people won't go back to work. I think safety matters. Let me make that very clear. And the 4 guidelines, right? The masking and the distancing particularly. Okay, you're right. But I will say this, it's a more optimistic picture than the one you are painting. And I think that we've made great strides. I mean, federal government doesn't control this. We are leaders, hopefully, in encouraging people to be safe and secure and accept our guidelines. The states are in charge of this. Each state has a different story. Most of the states are doing rather well in this. So I'm not that pessimistic. Maybe I'm too optimistic. I'm happy to report Ambassador Deborah Birx, who is our leader on the health virus task force, she's reporting now that these bad hotspot states, the 3 or 4 of them, are actually showing early signs of plateauing. Let us hope and pray that that is the case. We are doing everything we can.
We've had 4 days of more than 1,000 deaths. Yeah, I mean,
yes, the fatality rate is.
I always hope. I always hope
a tragedy. Any death is a tragedy, Jake. I agree, but it is.
You see Jake Tapper getting really frustrated with that whole thing. But he's like he's saying, there's 4. You know, we just had 4,000 deaths over the weekend, so that's not a good sign. Like that's not that plateau that Larry Kudlow was quoting. That expert was saying that they're at a plateau. That doesn't really, come out to be a reality if you look at it. You still have a lot of people dying. And so, and a lot of what's happening is we're seeing this stuff. So because we're seeing this stuff, that hurts confidence. And so that makes people think, okay, well, I don't want to open up my shop, or I don't want to go back to work at this current time because things are crazy and I'm not getting the protections. Just like Mitch McConnell was talking about this liability protection. You've waited so long now that you do have businesses that's in their mind. They're thinking, I don't want to get sued. So why am I going to open up my business right now? I need to wait for something to come out with this next package that will protect me because I have no protection right now. And so that's another thing. And that's one of the issues that I had back 2 months ago when Mitch McConnell started mentioning this liability protection. It needs to be in the next package. Well, maybe you should have created a package with just that liability protection long time ago, 2 months ago. Attached it to one of the PPP packages that you pass through in order to allow businesses to know that they have some type of security. Because if a business looks at this whole situation right now and sees the numbers rising, and they might be in a state where they're able to open up their business, they might choose not to because they don't want to be liable if someone goes in there and then sues them. Because right now there's nothing in place. So that's another gripe that I have when it comes to this. Okay, get people to go back to work, Well, you need to give them some confidence. You need to give businesses confidence, and you need to give the people confidence. Let's go ahead and move on.
I have to go. All I'll say.
It is also true that the fatality rate is much slower than it was. Don't forget, in the package,
because thank God, doctors and nurses and health professionals. The doctors and nurses and health professionals are figuring out good ways to treat the virus. A lot of the people who are infected now are younger, and so it's not as high a mortality rate. But let me just say, sir,
but don't forget,
you paint a very rosy picture of what it looks like, what the virus looks like.
I just want to add, Jake, we're talking about employment benefits and so forth. Don't forget, there's a $1,200 check coming. That is going to be part of the new package. I would have preferred a payroll tax cut on top of that check, but be that as it may, politically it doesn't work. But the check is there, the reemployment bonus is there, the retention bonus is there. There'll be breaks for small tax credits for small businesses and restaurants.
Okay, so that was the end. Now you saw at the very end there, he tried to. And it was almost like, okay, this is something he had to get out there. So right before, because Jake Tapper kind of said, okay, we're out of time, and then Larry Kudlow jumped in there. Don't forget, there's $1,200 stimulus check that everyone's going to get, and then he said it again, $1,200 stimulus check that everyone's going to get, as a way. And I don't know, this is the way that it came across to me. It's kind of like, okay, here, don't worry, we're giving you your $1,200. You guys should be fine. That's the way that I kind of saw it. Maybe I'm being a little too critical of Larry Kudlow, but it was an interesting kind of trade-off there, where he's like, you're getting your $1,200 in addition to all these other things. So it just, I don't know. It was interesting, but he is mentioning the $1,200, and we talked about this. Okay, the $1,200 stimulus check. That there was mention of it. Stephen Mnuchin didn't actually say $1,200 last week, but he did say that it would be just like the CARES Act. And so the CARES Act was $1,200. So a lot of people assumed it would be $1,200. Larry Kudlow saying now that it's going to be $1,200. But you have to understand what role Larry Kudlow plays in this whole package. Okay, so he is a cheerleader, right? He is an aide at the White House, and he's a cheerleader. He has no legislative power. And so he's saying what he wants to happen. He's saying what the White House wants to happen, but he's not saying what will actually happen. So he might be saying the White House might be pushing for $1,200 stimulus check, which is kind of weird because the president said he wants it to be larger than the Democrats. A $1,200 stimulus check is not larger than what the Democrats were asking. Democrats were asking for a $1,200 stimulus check. So they're asking for the same thing. So that hurts the president's credibility when the president says it's going to be generous, it's going to be larger than what the Democrats want. But that's a side note. But understand, the White House right now, they are not legislators. So all this information that they're putting out right now is just stuff. It's their wish list. It's stuff that they want to have happen. The senators are going to have to decide what happens, and we already know there's conflict among the senators, and there's conflict among the senators and the White House. So we might not see a $1,200 stimulus check. I hope we see at least a $1,200 stimulus check or something more, but there's no guarantee with that. So when Larry Kudlow's putting that out there, just understand this is something they want to get across, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's something that's going to happen. So I want to know what you guys think, though. So in the comment section below, let me know what you think about this interview. Let me know if I missed some points, some key points. Also, I'll post in the link in the description so you can watch the full interview so you can see, because they talked about some other stuff too, but I just wanted to talk mainly about the stimulus check stuff. If you guys like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Like I said, the more likes a video gets, the more views a video gets. So please, if you can hit that like button, I really appreciate it. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.